I just feel very lucky to get to take my music to the places I've gotten to take it to. Just geographically, I never thought I'd get to go to these places in my life. And the fact that I get to go to these places and play music I've written about my life, and look down into the crowd and know that the fans relate to that in some way, even though they live halfway across the world, it's an honor.
Taylor Swift has sold an awful lot of music. In fact, in addition to all of her albums, she is one of the top downloaded artists of all time.
I was hoping to be able to sell one record.
Taylor Swift, a singer-songwriter, country pop star, and 11-time Grammy winner. She's a household name and has transcended music genres as she built her childhood dream into an empire.
She is both this massive star, but her audience feels like she's almost their best friend.
Taylor Swift is a tremendous songwriter. She has written more than 200 songs in her very short lifetime. She really is singing from the heart about what she knows.
From a small-town guitar-drumming country girl to international pop star, Taylor is one of the best-selling artists of all time.
The songwriting has been everything as far as me being an artist and being able to say what I want to say. It's been wonderful. It occurs to me how lucky I am, actually. I get so excited about it, and I wake up with a smile on my face, and honestly never thought I'd get to do this stuff. So being here is unbelievable.
Her genuine personality and the intimate nature of her songs make her one of the most beloved and relatable pop stars of the century.
I've never expected that kind of success. I've never just felt entitled to my shows selling out or things like this happening to me, but the fact that they have happened to me has been wonderful.
The dream for me, I always just wanted to make it in country music. That's what I wanted. I mean, I think your dreams change as you start to achieve more of them. I never imagined that the unattainable thing that I had always held in my mind and my imagination would happen to me at 19.
To understand her colossal rise to the top, let's go back to where it all started. Discover the unique and remarkable journey of the voice of a generation.
When you have crazy dreams like, I wonder what it would be like to win a Grammy someday, I never actually could fathom that it might happen until I was walking up there and winning one.
Taylor Alison Swift was born on December 13, 1989, in the small town of Reading, Pennsylvania, into a loving and supportive family.
Well, Taylor Swift, known as America's sweetheart, really did have very much an idyllic American childhood. I mean, she grew up on a Christmas tree farm, for heaven's sake, with a very close family unit. Her dad's a stockbroker. She has one brother, Austin, very close with her family. Taylor has said repeatedly her mom is her best friend.
Swift spent her early years on her family's Christmas tree farm in Wyomissing. At age 7, inspired by her opera-singing grandmother, Taylor became interested in musical theater and country music. By the age of 10, she was singing at local events in her hometown. Taylor's parents set out to make their talented daughter's dream a reality. At a young age, her mother would take her regularly to Broadway in New York for acting and singing lessons. As a country singer, Taylor knew that Nashville was the place to be, and she was determined to get a record deal. At 11, she traveled with her mother to Nashville to submit a demo CD of Dolly Parton and Dixie Chick karaoke covers at the front desk of every record label along Music Row. The competition was high. After being rejected many times, she was determined to make herself unique.
Anybody that wants to be a country singer has to come through Nashville. You don't have to always live in Nashville once you've become a successful country singer, but it's almost impossible to do it without living here at some point.
The difference between Nashville and Los Angeles and New York is that in Nashville, at least they'll listen to you before they tell you no.
I remember talking to her about how she would walk down the street in Nashville. It's called Music Row because all the music companies, record labels, publishers, there's a vast array of them all along the same street. So you can just go up and down the street and hit all these different companies. And she would go from door to door, knocking on the doors and go, "Hi, I'm Taylor, I write songs. Would you give me a deal?" And you know, at that point, an 11-year-old isn't going to get much credibility, but she kept at it.
At age 12, she discovered a love for songwriting, and she started making her own music. She eventually formed a lasting working relationship with Liz Rose, who suggested they write together.
I remember Jody Williams, who at that time was Liz Rose's song publisher. And he said something to Liz like, "Why are you wasting your time with this 14-year-old kid?" And Liz said to him, "She pulls her own weight. In a songwriting session, she's no kid." And that, I thought that little anecdote right there said volumes about who this person was, who Taylor Swift really was.
After learning the first 3 chords on her guitar with the help of her guitar teacher, Ronnie Creamer, she wrote her first song called Lucky You, inspired by her grandmother. She began writing songs regularly. Victim of bullying at school, she used her songs to express her emotions. She has said, "If you listen to my albums, it's like reading my diary."
You know, she's not an athlete, she's not a cheerleader, she's not a valedictorian. She was a skinny, lanky girl with frizzy hair. And I think that she didn't quite fit in. But Taylor very quickly was moved into superstardom. Even, you know, at the age most girls are picking out a senior prom dress, she was attending the Grammys and winning.
She began making frequent trips to Nashville for tours, and her family then packed up and joined her, relocating to Tennessee.
Nashville is the last place, I believe, not just in America, but in the world, where the craft of songwriting is nurtured and respected and loved. And by songwriting, I don't mean, baby, baby. That's a song in LA. It is not a song in Nashville. That just will not do. You know, you are supposed to say something when you sing in a club in Nashville. You are supposed to have something to say. It's a rare and wonderful place.
Well, for me, you know, the long period of time occurred from when I was 10 years old to when I was about 15. I mean, I spent that entire time trying to get a record deal, and actually moved to Nashville when I was 13, and it didn't get a record deal right away. Didn't get a record deal at all, so I signed a publishing deal and became a staff songwriter at Sony ATV Publishing. And so I would write every single day after school, because it was a job, you know. I was a paid songwriter when I was 14, so I wrote songs in Nashville for 2.5 years.
In 2004, at age 14, she finally signed her first record deal, becoming the youngest ever songwriter ever hired by Sony ATV Tree Publishing.
And they really took a chance on me, that I was the youngest person they ever signed. So I'd been writing since I was 12 years old, and when I was 14, I really started to co-write around Nashville, and it was really, really fun because I'd been writing by myself, and getting involved in the whole songwriting community in Nashville really helped me along and helped me on my way to, you know, becoming an artist.
However, the company wouldn't allow her to record her own songs. To stay true to her vision, she was ready to give up big opportunities. She was still tied to RCA when she was offered another deal that would put her on the path to stardom. She showed maturity beyond her years when she left the first record deal she was ever offered.
For me, songwriting is everything. You know, I didn't want to sign with a record label that wouldn't let me write all my own music. For me, making an album is about telling stories, making confessions, and writing songs so detailed that each guy knows which song is about him, you know? It's like they're all very personal, and so songwriting has been everything as far as me being an artist and being able to say what I want to say. It's been wonderful.
The kid had ice water in her veins. She just knew what she wanted, and she had a very, very astonishing sense of self about her. To take that opportunity, which anybody would kill for, a development deal at a major record company like RCA, and basically say, no, this isn't for me. It's not working. This isn't what I want. Just is jaw-dropping.
It showed that Taylor didn't just want to be famous. Most people come to town, they'll do whatever it takes to be successful. You know, if somebody wants them to sing other people's songs, fine. Other people sing their songs, absolutely, it'll bring in royalties. You know, for Taylor, she wanted to be on a record label, but she didn't want to do other people's songs. She wanted to have a publishing deal, but she didn't want other people to do her songs. She's always had her own vision about how she wanted to do it, and she was willing to give up pretty much a sure thing to do things the way that she wanted to do them.
For a kid of that age and at that level in her career to basically have that clear-headed a sense of who she was and what she wanted, I've never seen anything like it.
No one told us it was country night. Y'all want to hear some country music? Later on, you want to hear some Jack Ingram? Right now, you want to hear some Taylor Swift? You're in the right place.
She was still in high school when she was eventually discovered after a stellar performance at the Bluebird Cafe in Nashville that helped her get a contract with Scott Borchetta, a record executive at Big Machine Records.
She couldn't have picked a better star maker, because that's what he is, and he couldn't have picked a more focused young artist. So it was a match made in heaven.
She became the label's first signing. At only 16, she released her first self-titled debut studio album. Doing things her own way, she launched her career with her own material, writing and singing her own very personal songs.
The fact that she was writing from a teenager's perspective was what was different, because there hadn't been, prior to her, a child writer, a teen writer who wrote from a teen perspective in country music, and that, I think, was what set her apart.
For Taylor to be willing to pull the stuff out of her life and to be able to put it on paper and sing it in front of people, that was really something special. And I think that's what people like Liz Rose and later Scott Borchetta really latched onto, was that willingness to be so honest about her own life.
I think what makes Taylor country more than anything else is honesty. Because more than anything else, country music is honest music. You can't lie to the audience. They will find you out and they will leave you behind. Country audiences do not respect phoniness. There's no such thing as a rock star attitude in country music. It is not permitted. You are not better than your audience. You are your audience. And nothing says that more eloquently than the stardom of Taylor Swift.
Most of your great songwriters write slightly fictionalized versions of their own lives, and Taylor certainly follows in that tradition. She learned that if you're gonna do it and you're gonna write songs that are gonna make a difference, you're gonna have to put yourself out there.
Her first single ever was Tim McGraw, and the video won her a CMT Music Award. Her tales of young heartache achieved widespread success in the early 21st century. She wrote 3 songs alone, co-wrote the others, and they were all hits. She was only 17, but her maturity took everyone by surprise. The album hit #1 on the Billboard Top Country Album chart, and her success kept on growing from then on. Seen as a breath of fresh air on the country music scene, Taylor made country fans notice her, and nothing was ever the same after this.
The remarkable thing, even from the very first album, is what a distinctive and individualistic voice Taylor Swift has as an artist. Her songwriting is very, very distinctively her, and no one else.
My first album came out around Thanksgiving time, and this was when I was 16, and my favorite Thanksgiving memory was my cousin, who is my age, and he was like a sophomore in high school at this point, and he had just gotten his car, and he and my other cousins were out checking inventory at Walmart and Target and Best Buy and everywhere around there, making sure they had stock of my CD when I was 16. And they like completely had my back, and that's family for you.
With that album, Taylor tapped in to a market that country music doesn't always get, which is teenage girls. And I think that album, more maybe than any of the rest of them, was really, it was an album by a teenage girl for teenage girls. Country's market is women, but it's usually women in their 30s and 40s that's kind of the core country demographic. And so she was really bringing new people into the format at the same time that she was starting to win over some of the people that were already country listeners.
Well, I think what was so extraordinary about Taylor's first album is that there were so many hits on the album, and as one song would become, go straight to #1, another one was coming out.
It's called Teardrops on my guitar, and I wrote it about a situation that I went through when I was in high school, when I sat next to this guy in class and I had the biggest crush on him, and he had no idea. So every single day he would come in and sit down and talk to me about his girlfriend, and I got sick and tired of it one day, and so I wrote this song about it, and well, needless to say, I'm guessing the secret's out at this point.
I think Taylor Swift took everyone by surprise with that first album. I think what took me by surprise was the maturity of this kid.
And it started small. It was not one of those debut albums that comes out and is at #1 on the charts and then kind of falls. It was a build and a build and a build and a build, and it kept selling over several years and is still putting up 1,000 or 2,000 units every week. So people are still discovering that first album.
Thank you. It's a song I wrote about ex-girlfriends who don't exactly know that they're ex-girlfriends. I think y'all know what I'm talking about. This is called Permanent Marker. I know he loved you a long time ago.
I first met her in Nashville after she had just turned 17, and her record had been out for a couple of months, and I was really impressed by the record when it came out, and that was one of the reasons I went to meet with her. That her songs sounded very refreshing to me, because this was a teenager who was happy to sound like a teenager. We'd had the Britneys and Christina Aguileras and performers like that where everybody's trying to move beyond their years. And she was happy being in the years that she was living in, and it sounded very believable.
To call attention to this age group, especially teens and young adults, I think it is hard enough being in your late teens to early 20s under any circumstances. You just don't want to get into the brain of someone. It's hard being a teenager. And then the fact that so many kids have to deal with so much more, so many more struggles and hardships, and I think it's amazing to call attention to that. When I was 15 and I didn't get my way or didn't get invited to something or was rejected or lonely, which was a lot, I would just write songs in my room, and when I was 15 I learned a lot of really tough lessons, and I wrote a song about it, and called the song 15.
Take a deep breath and walk through the door.
2 years later, in November 2008, Taylor's second album and sophomore record, Fearless, came out, solidifying her status as a young superstar. It became one of the best-selling albums of 2009.
I liked that first record, but what was Fearless was the one that really made me a believer. And no, this isn't a kid. No, this isn't a one-hit wonder. No, this isn't a novelty act. This is an artist. And it was that second record, that whole second record, but in particular that second single, that really made me sit up and take notice. The fact that that accomplishment was done by somebody who wasn't even 18 yet, it's like, wow, we're in a whole new territory here. I mean, there's nothing that has gone before like this, and there probably won't be anything after like it either.
The lead single, Love Story, was a huge success, blurring the line between country and pop hits. It became the second best country single of all time.
You know, on Love Story, Taylor talks a lot about the kind of trials and travails of being a high school girl and getting your heart broken. She does everything from talk about, you know, a cute boy in her math class she has a crush on, to getting her heart broken by a boy who promised to love her forever and always. And despite the fact that people may be a lot older or from different cultures or different perspectives, I think she really gets to the heart of what all of us feel in those situations, hence her incredible mainstream and widespread appeal.
You know, Love Story's kind of universal. It's, you know, it's pop and it's country. It's you know, it's a retelling of Romeo and Juliet. It kind of taps into those sort of primal romance stories. You know, it's got a wedding proposal. It's got the dad that doesn't approve. It's really kind of that fantasy that so many young girls want to live out, but it's also a song that's so catchy that you don't have to be a young girl to like it.
Her third single, You Belong With Me, was her biggest U.S. hit, and they all brought her global recognition.
She's also at that age of adolescence where suddenly everything's exploding and you're finally figuring out what you're good at.
These weren't just, yes, they were from a teen's eye and from a teen's mind, but there was more to it than that. There was universality, which is what all great songwriting has to have. And I quickly disabused myself of the idea that this was music just for 15-year-olds, because it isn't.
I feel like my life has been very Cinderella-esque in a way, because I never expected any of this to happen to me. I never expected to actually get to do this. So getting to play shows every night, and it's just unbelievable, and I'm so thankful every day for it.
The album sold over 9 million copies worldwide. She won a string of high-profile awards, and then at just 20, became the youngest person ever to win the Country Music Association Entertainer of the Year award.
And I've watched every single year of my life, I've watched the CMA Awards. Every single year that I can remember watching CMA Awards. So I know what this means, and that's why I'm so at a loss for words right now. Addressing the pace of my career, I feel like I look at it from both ways. Of course, it feels like just yesterday that I was knocking on doors of Nashville going, hey, will you listen to my demo? But then again, I feel so lucky to know you guys and to have talked to you in press rooms and to have been an opening act for every single person that I was nominated against in the Entertainer of the Year category. I'm just very appreciative right now. Well, tonight I'm just gonna dance around with my band and my crew and my record label and freak out, because honestly, I never imagined that the unattainable thing that I had always held in my mind and my imagination would happen to me at 19. I couldn't be more grateful, but
I love a challenge, and right now the challenge is to find that next challenge.
The dream for me, you know, I always just wanted to make it in country music. That's what I wanted. I mean, I think your dreams change as you start to achieve more of them. I'd love to write songs for other artists. I love to have a double platinum album. You know, I think part of being in this business is being competitive and being somewhat restless, always wanting to achieve more than you have, and it's kind of like playing yourself. You know, you want to beat what you've already done. So I'm just hoping that, you know, I have a second album that does as well as the first, and, you know, someday get to be a headliner and always be the same person that I started out as.
Taylor is relatable. Her American good girl image attracted millions of people, and she became America's sweetheart.
And you really kind of see that sense of elegance that she's going for and that sense of classic style that she likes. And I think that plays out both in the appearance that she gives and in the way that she presents herself kind of in everyday life.
Being polite and being gracious, comes naturally to her. And the way she conducts herself in public, I think, is pretty much honest and true to who she is. She does see herself or believes herself to be a role model. I think she is an iconic American gal right now, maybe the iconic American gal.
Such a wonderful day for me. It's the 13th today, and 13's my lucky number. And that's when I found out about the AMAs. It's like, I swear, good things happen on the 13th for me, and I can't believe all those nominations. I'm absolutely walking on a cloud.
Her first headlining tour, Fearless, was attended by more than 1.1 million fans around the world and grossed over $63 million.
I'm just so excited. I cannot believe all the sellouts. Like, when I get a call like that, when they're like, oh, by the way, the tour sold out Madison Square Garden in a minute. I don't know how to react to that other than to just start jumping up and down and screaming.
I always expected to have to do a lot of stressing out about selling tickets. And then I went on my first headlining tour and everything just sold out. And I was like, really? This is how this works? I've never expected that kind of success. I've never just felt entitled to my shows selling out or things like this happening to me, but the fact that they have happened to me has been wonderful, and I hope that the second leg of the tour is as successful as the first. This tour has been so amazing because the fans have just absolutely made me feel like I've won the lottery of dreams coming true. When I'm up there and I look down and I see all of these t-shirts that people have made, and the signs that they make are hilarious, just very creative. It's gonna be so sad knowing that we're not gonna see each other for a while. Everybody on the tour, from the lighting to the crew to the dancers and the band, and everybody that have just become even more of my family in the last couple of months.
It's been amazing, you know, just all the things that have happened, seeing my album go double platinum, getting to tour with my heroes, and topping it all off with like a Grammy nomination. I'm really, really in awe of it all.
In 2009, Swift was recognized at the MTV Video Music Awards ceremony with a trophy for Best Female Video of the Year for Love Story. Her acceptance speech was disrupted by rapper Kanye West, who disagreed, and took the microphone to declare that Beyoncé should have won this award. The incident received much media attention.
Everyone was shocked. Here comes Taylor to receive a very well-deserved reward, and he gets up and makes an absolute idiot of himself, rambling about Beyoncé, who looked horrified in the audience. He was not doing her any favors either.
And she just handled it very gracefully, incredibly professionally.
I think what was interesting to me about that whole debacle was that the world, really the world, kind of stood up and said, leave her alone, don't pick on her, we like her.
Everybody in the world saw that for what it was. And the way she handled it was classic Taylor. You know, she was just as gracious as ever.
I think that's one of those places where she kind of grew up in the public eye, because people saw from that she could handle a crisis situation.
She was very gracious. She never really criticized Kanye, who basically went into hiding after the incident because he had embarrassed himself so badly and ended up apologizing profusely on Twitter for really offending not just Taylor, but really a lot of her fans.
Taylor's star power increased. In 2010, she became the youngest artist to win the Grammy Award for Album of the Year for Fearless. That year, she released a new album, Speak Now, which featured the hit lead single, Mine, and other hits such as Ours and Sparks Fly.
This is the dream come true. It's like I've never been presumptuous about dreams, and when you have crazy dreams like, I wonder what it would be like to win a Grammy someday, I never actually could fathom that it might happen until I was walking up there and winning one.
She wrote all 14 songs in the album, and it sold more than 1 million copies in its first week. As a result of being the country star's 2010 top-selling artist, Swift was presented with a special trophy for selling more than 20 million albums worldwide.
Oh my God!
Wow.
What?
So Taylor, on behalf of Big Machine Records and our partners Universal Music Group Worldwide, we are so proud to present to you this plaque that indicates you have sold more than 20 million records worldwide.
Oh my
And you can carry
God.
that home now. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I have to find a wall big enough for this. I'm absolutely blown away by the 20 million records plaque. It's just sort of beyond my comprehension to get a plaque like that, and the fact that the fans have done that much for me in such a short period of time is just unreal, and I'm so excited and so thankful. I remember, coming up in the music industry, and I would make goals for myself that were just ahead of the last goal I had just accomplished. I would never make a goal that was so far down the line that I felt like it was unattainable. A 20 million record plaque, in my mind, just always seems unattainable. I never would have imagined that would be a possibility for a goal. I was hoping to be able to sell one record, be able to make a record, to be able to have songs that people could hear. That's the fact that that's happening now, and the 20 million plaque is just, it's all the fans, and I'm just at a loss again for words.
Speak Now is really her young adult album. The lyrics, the songs are much more mature, not in any kind of suggestive way. I mean, she's just growing up. And that's not something that's easy to do for an artist that started out with as young an audience as Taylor did. And so that was the thing that I was really waiting to see out of her, was she going to be able to grow up in a way that made her look like a woman that should be taken seriously as an artist, or was she going to try to stay and just write teenage songs for the rest of her life, or was she going to try to do something to show how grown up she was, or was she just going to do it? I think Speak Now will always be a very key point in her career, because it was the point where she showed that she was an artist that was going to need to be taken seriously over the long haul.
She toured the world again and made unforgettable memories.
Well, hello, London. And welcome to the Speak Now World Tour. I'm Taylor. We have had the honor and the privilege of playing in London many times before. But you have never looked as beautiful as you look tonight at the O2.
Finishing the tour in Europe at the O2 Arena in London with a sold-out show is,
I couldn't think of a more perfect way to end this European run. I've gotten to experience just parts of the world I never thought I'd get to see, and nonetheless play shows in. It's been a really beautiful tour here, and finishing it here at the O2 is just so perfect.
In 2012, she started to experiment with her music. Taking a step away from her country roots, she took a giant leap with the release of her album, Red, which featured the hit single, We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together, and then I Knew You Were Trouble. This song was written about One Direction's Harry Styles, who Swift dated for several months around the time of Red's release. The album was an effort to make a big pop record and go beyond what she had ever imagined doing. At that time, even her appearance had started to change. The blonde curls were gone, and she followed more of a cool pop girl aesthetic. But the fans didn't seem to mind that the country girl part of her was gone. She made international hits. In 2013, Swift won the award for Artist of the Year at the 2013 American Music Awards.
Thank you so much. The winning Artist of the Year for the third time is kind of a little bit mind-numbingly unbelievable, and I'm just, it's a little bit hard to absorb it all at once to answer your question. It's amazing, and the fact that it's fan-voted makes it that much better. This year has been unreal for me with this album. I don't expect things to do well just as by default, so for this to happen is wonderful.
Production-wise, in terms of the sound of the record, it's very different. It's the first album track that she's ever done where it wasn't just her and her producer Nathan Chapman, where she's working with Max Martin and Shellback out of Sweden, and those are the guys that make those big dance pop records. And so in a lot of ways, it's much more like that. It's very much a pop record. There's a country mix to it, but it's really clearly an effort to go make a big pop record. But it's almost like the Swedish dance pop version of what an old Taylor Swift song should have sounded like. And so she's working with different producers, she's working with different songwriters, she's got some guests in on the album, and it's really about seeing what she can learn, seeing what she can do with all of these other people, and kind of learning just how broad the Taylor Swift sound is going to go.
I'm really excited about being in China for the first time. It's really exciting to bring the Red Tour here because having never been here, I'm most excited about the fact that the show in Shanghai sold out in under a minute. That was unbelievable. So it makes me even more excited to play the show knowing that there was that much demand here. It's really exciting going somewhere new because I've done so much international touring that you very rarely get to be in an entire country you've never even stepped foot in before. So that kind of experience is always really exciting. And there are lots of different places we're going on this Asia tour where I've never been there before, but surprisingly, the shows have sold out. So I think that, like I said, that's the most exciting thing, that these audiences have been so excited about the show being here. It's hard to try and figure out why my music works so well in Asia and why the fans like it so much. I'm honored by the fact that they, even if English isn't their first language, they would learn the words to my songs and sing them back to me in concert. It's really fun for me to know that they put that much effort in. And also, it's that kind of amazing reminder that music is one of those unifying factors that works all over the world. And looking out into the crowd and being in a completely new place, seeing that it's sold out, seeing that people know the words to the songs, it's really, really incredible. I'm really excited about the idea of tour, and although it's predominantly the same set list and production elements as the North American and the things we've done in the UK, it's good to kind of get back in the swing of things. So I'm going to do a dress rehearsal and everybody's in full costume. So we're going to go do that now to a completely empty arena. Tomorrow, things will look a lot different. Touring all over the world and putting out albums that will translate all over the world, and musically, I think that's been a huge
motivating factor for me in making new music is making sure that it's music that people will love in America, and maybe they'll love in Asia, and maybe they'll love in Europe, and that's been a new thing I've really hoped for, being able to travel internationally and tour internationally.
In 2014, she was once again dominating the charts with her new album, 1989, which featured the #1 hit singles, Shake It Off and Blank Space, and won Grammys for Album of the Year. It sold more than 1 million copies in the first week, and later became the best-selling album of 2014. Shake It Off became one of her catchiest tracks of all time. At the 2015 Brit Awards, Swift won the International Female Solo Artist Award.
I've been writing songs since I was 12 years old, and with every album, they've changed. 1989 is my favorite by far, so I'm really happy that's the one that people like the most. That's really convenient for me.
Taylor is loved and praised by many fans, but she was also a victim of public shaming. Massive popularity means massive scrutiny. For years, she had been constantly criticized about her private life. It was only in 2020, in her Netflix documentary, Miss Americana, that Taylor opened up about the eating disorder that she developed after receiving too many negative comments on her body. In 2016, after some very public drama with Kanye West and Kim Kardashian, everything became too overwhelming for her. She retreated from the public eye, and nobody would see her for a year. She spent that time reflecting on how unhappy she had been because of her desperate need to be liked. "I became the person who everyone wanted me to be," she said, and she lost herself in the process. But she found a glimmer of hope in her darkest days, and she would take the stage again. Focusing on what she does best, she stopped caring about what other people think. In 2017, she came back with the release of her 6th album, Reputation, reinventing herself and using her new good girl gone bad image to embrace her role as a villain and using it as fuel for her music.
I love the fact that Taylor uses her music to kind of fight back and either defend herself or stand her ground against those who are less than kind to her.
I'm sorry, the old Taylor can't come to the phone right now. Why? Oh, 'cause she's dead. Look what you made me do. Look what you made me do. Look what you just made me do. Look what you just made me do.
The album sold over 1 million copies in 4 days. At the 2018 American Music Awards, Taylor became the most decorated female artist ever in the 46-year history of the ceremony. Reputation was her final record for Big Machine. In November 2018, she signed with Universal Music Group, which distributed her new albums. The first album in this contract was Lover, released in August 2019. She described the album as a love letter to love itself.
Can I go where you go? Can we always be this close? Forever and ever and on. Take me out and take me home. You're my
2019 would turn into a challenging year for Swift. In June, it was revealed that Scooter Braun had purchased Big Machine, her former record label, including the masters for her first 6 albums, without her consent. Swift voiced her displeasure, saying she had been trying to buy the masters for years, and describing Braun as an incessant manipulative bully. In November 2019, Big Machine owner Scooter Braun blocked her from performing her older songs at the 2019 American Music Awards, where she was to receive the Artist of the Decade award, as well as using older material for the Netflix documentary, Taylor Swift, Miss Americana. Big Machine denied allegations and accused Swift of owing millions of dollars and assets to the label. In response, her representatives released that the label owed Swift nearly $8 million in unpaid royalties. She fought back and won. Big Machine agreed to grant all licenses of their artists' performances to stream shows and for rebroadcast on mutually approved platforms for the American Music Awards, although it did not mention Swift by name. In December 2019, Swift was featured in the Broadway blockbuster musical Cats. She was given the role of Bombalurina without an audition, and many critics said that Swift's performance was one of the film's highlights. She also teamed with Cats' creator to write a song for the film, Beautiful Ghosts. In January 2020, Taylor revealed intimate details of her life in the Netflix documentary, Miss Americana. The documentary takes a look at the chart-topping singer during a transformational time in her life as she embraces her role as a singer-songwriter and harnesses the full power of her voice. In August 2020, she announced plans to re-record her first albums in November. Scooter Braun might own the rights to the original recordings, but Taylor, as the publishing rights holder, holds the actual songs themselves, the lyrics, melody, and musical composition, which means she could re-record them all over again and re-release them and regain artistic and financial control of her songs. She, and she alone, will own the rights to the new masters. Taking the matter into her own hands, she once again set herself apart from the others. The full first re-recorded album, titled Fearless, Taylor's version, was released in early 2021. This brought a wave of nostalgia among her fans. Overall, Taylor hasn't really made any changes to the album, except the maturity in her voice, the rawness of the tones, and adding some banjo to songs like Love Story. Her plans to support Lover with a tour in 2020 were scrapped due to the COVID-19 pandemic. With some unexpected time on her hands during isolation, she wrote and recorded a new set of songs. The resulting and surprise album, Folklore, was released on July 24, 2020, and went straight to the top of the charts. The album's indie folk style and vivid lyrics received critical acclaim. It sold 2 million units worldwide within its first week, and went on to win Album of the Year at the 2021 Grammys. Swift also made history that year, becoming the only female solo artist to win that award 3 times. Less than 5 months later, and featuring many of the same collaborators, Swift released a sister album to Folklore called Evermore. As a result, Taylor stayed on top of the US charts for a combined 11 weeks, and Folklore became the best-selling album of 2020. As of 2021, she has been dating the British actor Joe Alwyn for 4 years, but they have kept their relationship private. Taylor revealed that he did more than just inspire her music. He also co-wrote some songs of the 2 albums. This marks a new era of post-pop Taylor Swift. Her last 2 albums include magical and mysterious, personal, emotional, and beautifully told family stories. One thing hasn't changed. She hasn't stopped putting her whole heart into her songs. Taylor Swift turned her dreams into reality with talent and an unparalleled desire to reach the top. She has come far since she revolutionized the country music scene in the mid-2000s. Throughout the years, she has produced smashing hits and has managed to maintain her momentum in the industry. Her music evolved as she grew as an artist, and she reinvented herself many times throughout the years. Her eras were defined by specific moods, colors, and hairstyles. 1989 was marked by its bubbliness, while Reputation marked a darker tone that reflected darker moments in her life. Then was Lover, the pastel era dripping in love and sweetness, which marked a return to the effervescence of 1989. Some of her new songs have some country music elements, which represents a full circle moment for Taylor.
So thank you for coming here to say hello to me today, and thank you for being the people who, at the end of the day, make me feel fearless.
Taylor seems to have said goodbye to an old Taylor, not the early years country girl at heart, but the Taylor that wanted approval from everyone, as she simply became more comfortable than ever in her own skin.
No, I think I'm gonna carry them as long as they'll let me have them. This is the dream come true. It's like I've never been presumptuous about dreams.
As she is reclaiming her voice, Taylor now lives as she sees fit and is not taking any more negativity from anyone. With her truthfulness and strength of character, and by singing about themes we can all relate to, from the magic of falling in love to growing up and standing up for beliefs, Taylor Swift has inspired millions of people all over the world. Throughout the years, she has kept her humility, and she has made her fans feel part of her story.
When you have crazy dreams like, I wonder what it would be like to win a Grammy someday, I never actually could fathom that it might happen until I was walking up there and winning one.
You honestly do have to have humility to be a country star, to be able to say, look, here I am, I'm laying myself in front of you, I hope you like me, because I'm not better than you. I am you.